All right, let's see how that goes after one espresso martini. We're back. We're international for the first time.
Yep.
Outside of the country. The one and only female listener and guest. Brit is back in your home country. Thank you for hosting.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you for leaning on your VIP status.
Yeah, this makes no sense.
We are in one of the nicest hotels I've ever seen. And probably one of the nicer hotels in Germany you can be in.
Probably, and completely unexpected. I saw her write VIP when we checked in, and then she said, you guys enter down the separate hallway, and I was like...
Free drink coupon.
Free drink, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
After a week.
Welcome and almost auf Wiedersehen from Germany.
Yep, I leave tomorrow. This is going to be like the great German recap episode. Observations about the Germans.
Mm-hmm.
That there's some misconceptions that need to be addressed for the people at home.
Yes.
They're very efficient people. That efficiency is only aimed inwards. It is not for anyone else's efficiency other than their own. And I picked up on that the second I got off the plane when I got here and got into the customs line. To which, and it was my fault for, I guess, landing on a Saturday morning and...
This airport in particular is also notorious
landed in Frankfurt.
Yeah, for not being fantastic with customs.
I didn't know that. It's a very nice airport, though.
Nice.
It's a huge airport.
And it was much cheaper to fly in here.
Yes, extremely cheap. Well, cheaper. Nothing's extremely cheap anymore.
No.
So I get there, get in the customs line, and 3 other flights landed about the same time as mine did. And so the line is wound around God knows how many times, just to epic numbers. And I wasn't too stressed out about that because flying into Cancun or Cabo, like the lines of Americans trying to get to the beach is obviously insane, but there's like over a dozen booths open. You wait, it sucks, but in under 30, 20 minutes, you're kind of through the sea of people, and it seems very unorganized. It's a mess. This was a very organized line. I figured we're in Germany. They're going to crank through this in the most efficient way possible. Oh no. There's one booth open checking these 3 flightfuls of people first thing in the morning. There's 2 people working in the booth. Within 15 minutes of me entering the line, one of the 2 people decides she's just not going to work anymore and decides to just walk away and never return. So now one person is manning this booth, checking passports, stamping them, and letting people in. And it is moving slower than any other line I've ever been. It took me at least 2 hours to get through this line. AC doesn't exist in this country either, it turns out. So I sat there, sweat through every layer of clothing I had on, in between screaming kids, smelly, large American people, and it was just brutal. How I told you this earlier, though. I taught a kid a very good lesson. I was in front of this family. This poor family had like 4 or 5 children, all young boys, just not having a good time. They're yelling at each other. They're pushing. They're fighting. One is just on his hands and knees screaming into the ground that was me though. Inside, I was this kid. And at one point, everyone's getting a little like fed up with this family, and obviously the mom and dad they just lost control.
Right.
They're like, these kids were great, and I sat sort of diagonal to them, like kitty corner to them on the flight. They behaved well. Right. You put a screen in front of them for 8 hours, they were fine. They melted down this line, understandably so. It was a terrible line. At one point, I looked down at the kid just having a meltdown, and I was like, you're learning a very important lesson about government right now, son. A lot of people chuckled, so either that was just, how they lean politically, or they found irony in the situation. Eventually did get through the line. Found my way from one terminal to the next through a rail system at the airport, and then finding the regional or the long distance train within the airport was impossible, and you had to come find me.
Yes.
So right off the bat,
yes,
a decent start. It was okay, an okay start. Customs is gonna suck no matter what, but very quickly realized you're living in their world. They're not out to make anything easier for you, really. It's just what's best for them.
Yeah, and this airport in particular, I will say, it is notorious for having really bad customs, and it's not hard to get around, but it's huge, and it's more complicated to get around, where sometimes coming into like the smaller connecting airports, customs is a little bit quicker, things move a little bit easier, but you did make it. yeah, had to come find you in the train terminal.
I found personal space isn't as respected here as it is in the U.S. either.
I think
If someone's going somewhere and they want to go there, they will cut in front of you, they will ride your heels, and that's just how it is.
I think it's because we have less space here.
Yeah.
Like, we don't have massive roads and, you know, like, areas in between things.
Mm-hmm.
I think even in, like, bigger spaces like the airport and stuff, it's still true. But I think out in public, the spaces are maybe a bit smaller, and there are a lot of people on foot. It's not as much, like, by car traffic. So I think
True, but no one knows which side of the sidewalk to walk on.
No.
Usually, you know, at home, and I'm a stickler for this because, you know, we drive on the right side, we walk on the right side. And if you're not walking on the right side and you're going up against the pole, you're a moron. They drive on the right side of the road here, and yet the sidewalk's just this clusterfuck free-for-all. And everyone's fine with it until you come across some old lady that's not, and you almost run into her and she cusses under her breath and some German.
Some old German woman almost went head-to-head yesterday.
Yes.
It was so stupid. We could not have gone anywhere else. Like,
old people sometimes just need something to be mad at.
We were as far over as we could have been. And then she was mad that we didn't hop a meter in the other direction to get out of the way for her.
You're already talking in meters now. It's too much.
That we didn't hop 3 feet in the other direction.
Thank you.
To get out of
we won a great war to use that unit of measure. You must respect that. But, you know, euros, centimeters, all that stuff, don't get it. Still, it's only been a week, obviously, so my brain isn't going to think in euro terms, but still, kilometers, euros.
I mean, my brain hardly thinks in the metric system. It's just at work. I have to, so I'm being forced.
You're in like an academic and scientific setting at that too, so naturally.
Being forced to use it.
Yeah.
Every day.
Had other observations.
But, so you arrived. What did you think after that? How was everything?
Oh, we know this too, like hours of operation for businesses, completely optional.
Yeah, if it's like a small or like family-owned business, I feel like if something comes up,
they just won't open or they'll close early. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. That was interesting. Smoking's cool.
Everywhere. Drinking everywhere.
Yeah, you can just, every zone, every district is a social district. You can just walk and drink. Like, we went to the top of that castle. Not saying this was, like, cool, but, like, we walked this historical castle grounds. You'd climb up the castle wall to the big courtyard sort of above the whole city of Nuremberg and look over it. And around the gigantic flagpole waving this big German flag was just an assortment of, like, over a dozen empty beer bottles. Guys just went up there and got hammered and just left the bottles there. Don't leave the bottles, but, like, cool that you can just walk around and drink and smoke
anywhere.
That is cool.
It is really cool, and they start drinking here younger, and also drinking isn't seen as like such a taboo thing, so I think people get less out of hand with it. Like, it's not really a problem as much for people to be like drinking in public because it's just so, I think, part of their, like, I don't know, culture in a way, especially like in the summertime, that there's sometimes like less of a menace about it, you know?
Yeah, like, despite being able to drink anywhere and everywhere at all times of the day, the only rowdiness we saw was on the train.
Yeah.
On the way in, there was a group of dudes just singing American show tunes in English, perfect English.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought maybe there was like a soccer game that day because game days are very annoying to be on. I do know that. But yeah, there wasn't. I don't know. They were just having a good time apparently.
Food's great all around. Food is excellent. I mean, I've never eaten so much food in my life in a week, and I don't feel particularly gross. Like, I know I've been bad about it because I didn't work out for like a week, which isn't good. It's like I feel that, but I mean, despite what we ate and how much we ate, like, feel fine.
The quality of the food here is really good. That is one thing I will always give a kudos to here for.
Even on like food menus, like, our menus will just basically say whether it's gluten-free, whether it's vegan, you know, it contains egg or whatever. We went to like a tapas place for dinner one night, and the menu went so far as to list that stuff, obviously, but everything else, like it listed like artificial sweeteners, colors,
Mm-hmm.
preservatives. It just went on and on and on, and they were just very open about what was in the food you're eating at a
Yeah.
restaurant too, which is kind of cool to see because you don't get that.
Yeah, no, they're very open about it, and I think we've talked about this before on here maybe. They're also very limited as to what they can like even add to foods here.
Mhm.
Like you can't just like pump it with fillers and stuff to like lower the cost of things. That's illegal here. So they're very open about it because there's not a lot that they can really hide in the food anyways, which is nice. Like you
Mhm.
said, like we have been eating a lot and very well all week, but the only thing I feel a little gross from is we've like not really been working out. It's just like I don't feel gross from the food,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah. I had all. I didn't take notes, but I had just like a mental checklist going.
Mm-hmm.
The pace of things,
Yes.
I think, and obviously people move a little, slower here. But I also think that has to do with sort of like the setting
Yes.
that you're in. Like we're not in, like Nuremberg isn't necessarily where we were in Nuremberg. Rather, wasn't a city full of like just high rise,
Mm-hmm.
square, modern buildings. I mean, these buildings, some of these buildings were around since like what, the 1400s.
Oh
Like
yeah, earlier. I
really
mean, the one
old
church we saw
buildings,
was built
all
in like 12
cobblestone
something.
everywhere,
Mm-hmm.
and you can just sit by the river and watch all the ducks.
Eat, drink, smoke, like
Yep.
just stay there. Or yeah, I mean, just go to like a sitting area too and just sit
Yeah.
and
Basically, what we did for most of the time.
yeah. I think the pace here is more leisurely. Like people will
Mm-hmm.
stop and enjoy kind of those like smaller moments more,
Yeah.
and will really like go out like for walks or like go sit by the river and make it like a big part of their day. And so I think yeah, the pace in some ways does become slower.
Yeah, I mean, every day I think we just
Yeah.
sat by the river with a coffee,
There's always
watched
a point.
every bird that has ever inhabited that river.
We now know every type of duck that lives on the Pegnitz,
Yep.
the river in
The
Nuremberg.
geese, the ducks, the coots, which isn't a slur. It's a
No,
type
it's
of
not.
bird, yes, the Eurasian
It is-
coot.
Maybe the best water animal.
It has to be one of the least intelligent
It's so dumb.
birds
It's so
to
cute,
ever
but it's so
bless this
dumb.
earth because it has no business being in the water.
No,
None. It cannot swim,
but it can't fly.
and it can't fly either, oddly enough.
It doesn't
It
understand
has to be
currents.
like a descendant of like the kiwi or the
It's-
dodo or something
yeah.
because this poor little thing gets smoked by ducks and like geese and swans when you compare like their speed
Mm-hmm.
to how they travel through the canal there. They're constantly trying to paddle upstream
Upstream.
and they go nowhere. They just
And then
you
they
can
just,
see
they start screaming. And yes, you can see how much effort they're putting
they're
in.
trying their darndest to go against the current in this stupid little river and they go nowhere.
Nowhere.
But they do it all day. They can't fly because when they're trying to
Mhm.
chase one another, they can never fully take off. They just keep hitting the water. You can see their legs like almost running on the water while they're trying to fly.
Watching them run on the water was the cutest thing.
They're just dumb birds. They're hilarious
Yeah.
to watch. I think we had dinner at the same place twice because I could smoke
Yeah.
a cigar. Just like
beautiful
good
spot
little
on the river,
tapas. Yeah,
too.
right next to the river, and we just watched these birds just fuck around. Probably
Hours.
5 hours total,
I mean,
probably.
honestly, yeah, we sat there for so long.
So that's cool,
Mhm.
not being in such a rush. Oh, the restaurants. If you go to a restaurant, it's not a quick in and out.
No.
Like you're spending at least 2 hours there.
You will not get your bill until you tell them you are ready to
They're
be
not
done.
going to push you
They're
out.
not
Yeah.
going to push you out. They're not going to come. They'll ask you, like, do you want anything else? But if you say no, you then again have to say, but we're also ready to go, or
Yeah.
else they will just leave you to it.
Yeah.
And yeah, you will stay there until you say, like, you're ready to go, basically.
Yeah, so that,
Yeah.
that is cool too.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes, I do just want to be in and out quickly.
Mm-hmm.
But it's cool to like get into a restaurant, and never once was I like, oh, we got to get through this quickly, or like,
Yeah.
oh, there's a long wait, or like I didn't feel rushed at any point.
No. I think part of that's because they don't have to work for tips here. Like, they're actually
Mhm.
paid normal wages.
Yep.
So it's not like a let me overserve you and try to like get a great tip from you and upsell and then get the next table in because I need the next tip. Like, that's not, yeah, I guess how like the restaurant system works here. So I think that's why you get to be a bit more leisurely.
Yep. Coffee's ruined for me forever now. And I know, like, it's just Germany, but it is still, like, Europe, so, like, everything's sort of like espresso. I like Americanos most of the time I was here, which is just espresso and water, right?
And a lot of the brands that they use, I will say, carry into like Italy and France.
Sure.
Like these areas, you're gonna have really good coffee.
So I'm never gonna. Well, I bought myself a little espresso maker now so that I
You
can
are Mr. Espresso now.
actually enjoy coffee when I go home. 'Cause I'm a snob, because espresso and a cigar, oh,
So good.
it was everything at night. I mean, they get Cubans here, which is interesting.
Yes.
Well, that in and of itself is not interesting necessarily, but great cigar lounge we found, like right in the town square, basically, of Nuremberg. 2 stories up in this little building, and they had a whole walk-in humidor dedicated to Cubans. And so naturally, as an American, simply had to enjoy Cuban cigars while I'm here. All priced very affordably too, let me say.
Yeah.
I think this is, mind you, in a very nice lounge. And typically when you go into a lounge, you're going to be upcharged per cigar because they have margin to make too. So you can typically expect to pay $2 to $3.50 more per cigar than you would if you were to shop, online. Especially because there's deals, there's coupons, there's sales. You can shop for cigars online very affordably. Whereas when you go into a nice lounge like that, they're going to upcharge you because they have money to make. Walk in here, the Cuban humidor is less than half full. Like, most of it's empty, which was very odd to see. And I'm talking to the nice-ish, I guess I said. The first time we went in there, the lady, so
she was a little apprehensive because we tried to just
we want to
go
see
up to the Cuban,
the Cuban humidor, and in her strict German voice goes, only one at a time. And so I walk in.
They keep the room locked for reference. I don't know if you said
the
that.
The humidor's locked.
Yeah.
Yep. So she's got to unlock, and she said one at a time. And then I get in, she's like, don't touch anything. Let me know what you want. I'll get it. I was like, okay. I don't know what I look like. Probably a stupid American. Do you actually know exactly what I look like? I look like a dumbass to you. But this is not my first rodeo. Yes. But I've always been able to walk to the humidor, grab what I want, and then pay for it out there. But whatever. That's how they do it. So I'm looking, and immediately I find my favorite cigar, which is the Cador C number 50. I had it years ago when I was in Mexico and got every flavor under the sun out of it, even dried fruit in a cigar, and it just blew my mind. So I was like, definitely one of those. And while I was in there, I was like, hey, how much for a box? Because on the shelf, it just had price per stick, which, by the way, priced very affordably. I think I mentioned that, but shockingly affordable for Cubans, too. So I was like, it was like $10 for the cigar. I paid probably 25 plus when I was in Mexico in a touristy area when they knew they can upcharge you for it. I was like, how much for a box? I was like, I'll buy 2 boxes of these things while I'm here. Like, why the fuck not? And she says, we're not selling by the box currently. And she's like, we're having a very hard time getting Cubans in right now. And that's why the Cuban humidor was more than half empty. I was like, why? And she didn't really have an answer. She's like, we're not really sure what's going on with Cuba. We're just not getting them like we used to anymore. So maybe there's something there. I'll have to look into that.
Yeah.
I thought that was very interesting. I went back today before we left Nuremberg and picked up several more to enjoy. So.
And she recommended a new one for you, right?
Yeah, I forgot what it's called. Yeah. I'll look it up when I get back, and it's something Vegas is in the name, which is weird for a Cuban cigar, I thought. Yeah. But she said they're great. They're in the same price range as the Cadorcies, so I said, sure, I trust you. Yeah. Buy 5 of those, 5 more of the Cadorcies to enjoy at a later point here. What else? Oh, we had to talk about the Blockhouse.
The Blockhouse.
So, if you've ever wondered what Chinese people feel like when they're in American Chinese restaurants, I can tell you exactly.
Go to the Blockhouse.
Again, right across the square from the cigar lounge, next to this beautiful cathedral, which is even funnier to me, is the Blockhouse. And that is one German's idea of what an American diner, steakhouse, and Golden Corral look like if they were all just blended together.
Yes. White and red checkered tablecloths, salad bar, country music playing.
Nice lighting, though, oddly enough.
Very nice. Like, we walked up to this restaurant, and at first I was like, oh, we're not dressed nicely enough. Like, from the outside, it looked very nice. And then we walked in, and I was like,
Dolly Parton's
What in the Golden
playing.
Corral?
It's all just country music. There's
Yes.
pictures of the Grand Canyon on every
Yes.
wall. And there's just like burgers, steaks,
Yeah.
you know.
That steak,
The
fantastic.
burger was banging too, even though it was only open face, but whatever.
Oh yeah, it was only a bun on the bottom.
Yeah, I don't know what they were going for there. Bread was good, but I mean, the burger was still great. So that was actually just hilarious. Just sitting in there was an
It
experience
was so funny.
in and of itself. I feel bad for Chinese people now.
If you've ever been to
Just kidding, I don't.
Frankenmuth, Michigan, which is like a German. Well,
Yes, there you go.
It is an original like German town in Michigan, but
It's been
a lot
touristized
of it is like,
now.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's like a German replica town.
Mm-hmm.
That honestly is the exact equivalent of what the Blockhouse would feel like to Americans.
Yeah.
Like if you were German in Frankenmuth, you'd feel like an American in Blockhouse.
Actually, I don't know why I just thought of this, but question: when you've walked through the airports here, while you're walking through the airports, do the police there, an actual like police, like are they walking around with like full rifles and stuff in the airport like terminal? Because when I was in the customs line, every single one of them that walked by had like an HK MP5 strapped to the front, and like actually holding it. I was like, I feel like I was in Mexico. I was like, because they're always carrying rifles over there.
No.
I didn't know if that was just something they did in the customs area where they were, you know, foreigners kind of coming in, and maybe there are people like detained down there too. Because I wasn't sure if that's something you see normally in the regular part of the airport.
I've ever seen police officers here actually like have rifles and stuff on them is in the airports, and I feel like I don't even know if they're really loaded. Like
it wouldn't surprise me, but at the same time, I feel like
really. But normally, I only really see police officers.
That's so funny for you to say.
Sometimes they'll be like outside of the main gates, or they'll be in customs, but it's not super common. I don't really see them though, like out and about like that, just like out in the cities. Now maybe in certain areas.
When we were out in the city walking around, no. Definitely not. But in the airport, like every single one I saw when I was in the customs line, all had like
you will find a lot of them like in customs and like I said, outside of like more populated gates, like main terminals. But I honestly don't even know if the rifles are loaded. I could see them being not.
I'm split because one, that's extremely stupid if they aren't, but also this is the EU, so.
Or could they be like
less than lethal rounds or non-lethal rounds?
Yeah, or like decoy rifles or something. I don't know the wording.
You're in an airport though.
Yeah, you probably want
Common sense would say no.
Yeah.
Never. There's no point in having that. Because if you're going to pull it, you pulled it for a reason. The last thing you're going to want is, oh boy, I hope these pepper ball rounds work.
I mean, maybe they do.
Or I hope these rubber bullets stop them.
Maybe they do, but they always are like, I feel like half paying attention. Like they're always just like talking to each other, like chilling. Like I feel like they're never really standing guard to where they're like prepared to use their rifles. Maybe they are, but I don't know. They always seem a little laid back.
I mean, I don't know the last time an attack's happened at a German airport, so.
Yeah, it's rare. I think a couple years ago, at this one maybe, to be honest.
Really? Oh, lovely.
But like not much happened from it, and I think even like in universities, there's only like one situation in the last like 5 years or so. It's, I mean, it's really.
There was that. I think the latest thing that happened over here. I could be wrong. Was that thing at Prague?
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah. I don't know anything other than that. And I only heard about that from you. I didn't even know that.
I haven't heard of much, thankfully, going on over here. I will say, though, felt pretty safe.
Yes.
Which is interesting because in a lot of the areas, what we're used to in America.
Is that spam?
Yeah, spam likely's calling.
Gotcha.
See ya, idiot.
I didn't know if you knew that.
Thank you. What our sort of pattern recognition has, like our idea of like a not so great area to be or like not so safe area to be in America is very different. It looks very different from what it would here.
Yes.
Like we went through some areas, walked through some areas where I'm like, oh, not looking so great, but actually it's fine. And again, just different lifestyle, different culture, different makeup of people around as well, different economic situation, and so it's just very different. And so that was took a little getting used to.
Yeah.
But like after I got over that, I was like, oh, this place is actually like really nice. The coffee shop's great. People aren't not friendly, I would say, because no one's really friendly here. But like,
now I'm gonna say this because I completely agree with you. We've talked about this before. There's something about Bayern, which is like Bavaria. When you hear stereotypes of Germans being like cold and unfriendly and mean, they are talking about the Bavarians. And I know enough Bavarians now where they have also said like that is where the stereotype comes from. My roommate is Bavarian. He's from here originally, and he even said he's like that is where he's not like that at all, but agrees like that is where the stereotype comes from. And when you come back in the summer, we'll go to a different area, which is in a state here called Baden-Württemberg. The nicest people, so nice, so friendly.
I think it's
so sunny.
a function of the amount of sun.
Yes.
Because you go to a lot of places in Michigan, and I really wouldn't say it's the most friendly crowd, though. Yeah. I would definitely say they're friendlier than most people here.
Yes.
But no one's really walking around with a pleasant expression.
And who is the friendly people here? It's not the Germans.
It's really not.
In this side.
It's not.
And again, I'll say to Baden-Württemberg's defense, like they are pretty nice there. Like my friend and I will go to restaurants and cafes there, and they're so nice when they welcome you. When here, it's a little bit more like, so are you ready? Like it's just
what do
very
you want?
yeah. But we have to talk about your shawarma stand.
I was getting there.
Okay, but it's a lot of the international people here who are very friendly with each other, and I think there's a sense of like camaraderie between foreign and international people here because you feel that coldness from not just the people, but from the society and from some of the systems that are in place. They're not very welcoming to international and foreign people. Even if you're from like a privileged international place, like a lot of people...
You mean a white country?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I mean like in being from the U.S., like there's not much that you have an advantage of here in terms of like processes and things. Like it will be just as hard for you as it will be for maybe not just as hard, but it's going to be quite hard, just like it would be for someone from like somewhere with a passport that isn't as welcomed, you know?
Right.
So I think the international people here really have a sense of community of like we're all going to like take care of each other because we all know what it's like to live in this like more cold environment. And I think that also plays into the safety here is like the people really do look out for each other. Like in the international people especially, like if you need something, they will give you like ask for an inch, they will truly give you a mile. And the Germans are like that too once you get to know them and once you get in with them. Like I, after almost 4 months here, just got an apartment, which has been an insane process. And the girl
why don't you say how many have you like applied to online?
This is depressing, and it's over 200.
Yeah.
It's over 200.
And this was another observation I'll circle back to with that one.
But the girl who's taking me and like volunteered to like, do you want to go furniture shopping together? Like I'll take you shopping for your apartment. She's German, you know, so it's like once
you guys work together too though.
We do work like I'm also at an advantage because I work in an academic setting where people are generally friendlier with their coworkers. Like if you just work in a normal German office, like they are very work and life are separate, whereas I'm still in a setting where like people are looking to make friends, especially in like an international environment, so they are a bit more open. And yeah, her and I work together, but I'm just saying like once you get to know them, they are very welcoming to you, but that like front is hard. It's hard to get through.
I believe it.
And sometimes you never get through it. I mean, I've been here
I feel like that's probably the norm.
Months, and I don't feel like I've pierced through it at all, to be fair. I feel like I have with some at work, but the people that I have here, again, are all my international people. Like, I don't have, you know, it's hard piercing through
Germany's
that.
also, I'm not saying this is part of the reason why they're like this. They've also taken in a lot of refugees. recently.
And now it's becoming a thing where they're trying to redo refugee and immigration laws and have basically everyone that they brought in leave.
Yeah.
But the thing is, Germany is an aging population, and they need us here.
Right.
Like, they need the expats and the refugees and stuff. The refugees are obviously a different story, but
Right.
like, it's very
And by
long,
refugees, I mean,
and
and you could correct me, it's
No,
mostly Ukrainian.
it's Ukraine.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is Ukraine. Germany was like the number one like site to like take in refugees, which is great. But now they're like going back and trying to find like loopholes, and it's not just Ukrainians. It's also like anyone with like Arab country passports. They're also a big conversation in that topic, and it's bleeding into like the expats who are here for work also. But your economy literally depends on the expats who are here working for you. So that was a bit of a divergence. We can.
No, I just because like the whole thing is they're not. You worded that very generously, I'd say. When I think they are just very openly
Racist.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. They just don't like
They
anyone
are.
who's not German to
They-
the point where like they just straight up would lie to you about
Yes.
what they would allow for in apartments you were looking at. Where
Yeah.
like you'd view an apartment online, it'd say because you have a dog who's still at home, you're waiting to get an apartment before you can bring him over. You saw an apartment, you applied for it online where it said pets friendly. You literally saw pictures of pets, cats, dogs in the posting for the apartment. The apartment itself would be across from the city's largest dog park.
Yep.
And you'd get there, you'd view it, and they'd say, maybe cats.
Yeah. Actually, we don't allow pets.
Yeah.
I'm like, but
Like,
you
you're
said
so
online,
full of shit.
And
And if it happened once, sure. But it
Yeah.
happened most of the
They-
times you went to view like a pet-friendly
Yes.
quote-unquote apartment, they'd magically say, no pets.
they will come up with any excuse that they can find to not rent you without blatantly saying it's because
You're
you are
American.
not German.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's different here too. Like, buying homes is not really as common. Like,
Right.
you will rent an apartment, and here, like, when you rent an apartment, it's really yours. Like, you can pretty
Well,
much
rent again,
do-
here's only like what, $700, 700 euros?
It depends. Like, I mean, my place is small, so it's not in
Sure.
like a main city center.
You say
but it
the
depends,
average
but I mean,
apartment rent is though.
No, like it
I could
should,
look it up.
it is typically more affordable like that. Like, it's probably like, I think in Nuremberg, the average is supposed to be like 10 or 11 per quad meter or something.
Okay. God, all in units, I don't understand.
Sorry.
Okay.
But it makes it like the living should be more affordable here is the point. Like,
Yeah.
you're not going to pay 40% of your paycheck
True.
to rent, which is, what we're told to do in the U.S. is like budget 40% or whatever for rent. That's not the case here. But you can like really make a place your own, and people get an apartment and they will live in it forever.
Yeah.
So if you're someone who's not German, or you're someone who's only here temporarily, you're not going to live here forever. They will find any reason to not rent you for those two things.
Yeah.
Like, being here for a year is not enough for them.
Right.
So now, like, to get an apartment, I mean, this person I'm renting with now is fine, doesn't care. But every other place I've seen, I've basically had to lie and say, like, I've moved here permanently for my job. Because if not, you're not even going
You're
to
thrown
get
off the
viewing.
list.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're not even going to get in to see the apartment.
But what's the number? How many did you inquire about online?
Oh, over 200.
Yeah. And
And
how
you
many did you
go-
actually see in person?
Oh, my God.
Were you allowed to see in person?
Jeez. Like, 10.
And all no's except one.
Yeah.
So from 200,
Yeah.
you actually had to
Maybe
look at 10,
Mm-hmm.
and only one you had a real shot at
Yep.
because you weren't German.
And this is over months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Since what? December? January?
Really? I was sending out requests in November.
November
And
of
then
last
came
year,
here
23.
So November 23, and today it's February 23rd.
2024. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's insane. Like, not that anyone listening is probably attempting a move to Germany, but my advice is either
Go somewhere else.
have an apartment before you get here, or
Go to a happier country.
or go to France, or
Somewhere with sun.
yeah, just go to the south
Yeah.
south west of Germany. I have, yeah. If I could do it again, I of course would find a way to go back where I lived the first time, but the job was in a different area, so.
Yeah. Gotta do what you gotta do.
You gotta do what you gotta do.
On that, in the same vein though of racial, whatever. This got
I know
me
what
because we saw it at least
Water,
3 or
keep
4 times throughout the city of Nuremberg, and it's not as bad as like the Japanese, like you'd see in anime or in some of their marketing imagery. But what are you looking for?
Water?
Should be in the bag there. I don't know how full it is.
Sorry.
You're good. There you go.
It's gonna be loud on the mic.
No, not at all. Not as bad as the Japanese, but their depiction of African Americans in their marketing and imagery is
So
quite
bad.
Negatively stereotypical, I guess is the only way to word it.
So bad.
Like we walked. So first of all, this is this side note, not directly related to this, just through secondhand, but like their pharmacies here, they're technically called apothecaries.
Yes.
How do you pronounce it here though?
Apotheca.
Apotheca, but it's spelled apotheke. So
Yeah,
literally apothecaries if you want to go to the pharmacy, which is
yeah.
pretty sick.
That's what it translates to.
We walked past one that's been around since like it said like
Is that like
14 whatever.
It's
I don't
like
know if it's because
65 or
that
something.
location was doing that since the 1400s or if that building site had been there or what the deal was.
Yeah.
But it was, I'll have to look it up. We walked past it on the way to the main train station out of there, and I tried to remember the name of the place before the apothecary. But very clearly, a silhouette, if you will, of African American with just the nappiest hair, the biggest lips, just a black and white silhouette, and I was just like, ooh, that's a tough one, isn't it?
And any hair salon that claims to be like cultural or like multicultural, just again, it's the worst silhouette. With,
It's
like,
just so
nappy
forward
hair.
and just blatantly.
It's so bad.
Like you definitely could not get away with that anywhere else.
It's so bad.
But just hilarious.
I derailed you from the safety conversation a little bit. I do want to say that is one thing I love about it here is it really is so safe. Like there's not many places that I would feel uncomfortable going by myself.
Yeah.
Nuremberg is somewhat an exception in the south of the city. I don't know if it's just like because that area took a big hit after the war and the rebuilding from then wasn't as great. And I also think that's where like, and not that this makes an area dangerous, but I think it makes landlords a little less upstanding characters, but that's also a big like refugee settlement area.
Well,
and again,
in general though, just by the nature of refugees, desperation is going to breed opportunity and more opportunity to sort of do things outside of the purview of the law. That's just a general rule of thumb.
No, I get it. I think, I mean, it's so hard to come here in Germany anyways. I feel like the international people are so on, like, guard and so, like, follow every rule to a T. I mean, I'm the same way, and I'm not a refugee by any means, but because it's like you're so afraid to make one wrong move and get something denied, and then you're forced to leave.
Well, fuck, I went outside to take the garbage out and looked at the 6 different trash cans I had to pick from. I had to look over my folder. I was like, make sure there's no cops coming before I just chuck it all in one.
Trash here is absurd. We have like 6 different sorting systems, and it's annoying. Sometimes I
was like, damn, I don't have my papers on me either. I can't get caught throwing away the glass in the cardboard box or whatever the fuck.
But yeah, the safety is really nice. I wanted to ask what you thought, minus the first day with like the delayed train that caused the issue. How did you feel about the public transit? Because we took a decent
First, so basic rule of thumb, all my homies hate public transit. We all love our private cars. But it was very nice. Inside the city, it was very nice.
Yes.
Just being able to hop on that train every 6 minutes, and it's very fast. Just go wherever you want, all over the city. That was very nice.
Yeah. And
very convenient.
We didn't really take it, but that same system, like those streetcar styles, exist up on the streets also. Where we were going, we were right by the U-Bahn, they call
their
it.
subway,
like the
basically.
Underground. Yeah, their subway.
It's nothing like the New York subway.
No. It's actually, it's really nice.
It's very nice, actually.
Yeah. But I mean, we were going between 2 major cities, and we were between them within 15 minutes to
It was
20
amazing.
minutes
Yeah,
from like
we
city
moved.
center to city
We
center.
moved a bunch of just stuff to your apartment, just
Mhm.
carrying it on the train, no problem.
Yeah.
Very quick, very easy.
Yeah, and the like above ground ones are just as nice, but
Do
yeah.
you need a ticket to use that? They
You
just don't
do.
check it?
Yeah, no, so you do have to have one. I don't know if you noticed when we would go down, there were like those ticket machines up at the top. Like if you have a ticket, like a physical ticket, you can put it in there. But you either have to have a physical ticket, or I always just had yours like with mine on my online account.
So I was wondering,
If
I
you're
never saw
on-
anyone checking tickets. Or
No, if you're on like an U-Bahn or the streetcars, it's not often that someone's going to come check tickets because those stops are so short and there's so many people. Like, you're not going to get to everyone in that time. So rarely are those checked. When you take like regional trains in between places, those will get checked. We just didn't happen to take any of those, but you will have someone who comes around and will check for your ticket.
I would love to see
Now-
what the statistics are of people who actually buy tickets for that
Yeah.
subway system.
Well, the thing is, if you don't, and there happens to be a random check, like someone, like they could check even before you go down. They could
True.
decide to have ticket checkers up at the top. And if you don't have one, the fine is like 75 euros or something.
Versus how much is a ticket usually?
Oh, I mean, a one trip ticket is like 2 euros maybe. The thing I was buying you was a little more expensive, but it was like a day ticket that covered all types of transit.
Yeah, how much is the day ticket?
So again, it depends on the regions you want. You can do ones that are like just for in the city, and those are probably like, it was like 4 or 5 euros. But again, that covered everything. That was buses,
It's a
streetcars,
lift all day.
regional.
That's all day too. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's all day, unlimited. If you buy on the weekend too, you get it Friday, Saturday, and Sunday for that price.
Damn.
I was buying you the one for like the extended regions because I knew we were going between a couple cities. And even so, that was like €9 a day, but again, unlimited travel. And so what I have is like, it's a German like monthly ticket that covers everything. It's €49 a month.
Not bad.
But it's just like our general
Because
like.
you're doing this without a car too here.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
if you don't have a car, you probably have, it's called the Deutschland ticket, but it's €49 a month and it's unlimited travel. The only things that aren't covered are your high-speed trains. So between like major cities, like what we took between Nuremberg and Frankfurt, it's either IC or ICE trains. Those you have to buy separate tickets for, and those are always checked. The reason you didn't see the like ticket people come to us is because I did comfort check-in online. So they
Gotcha.
they see that I already checked us in, and then they just can pass by.
Cool.
Yeah. But yeah, regional like buses, they will definitely check. And the U-Bahns and the Straßenbahn, like streetcar it's called, I think they just don't have time and manpower, honestly, to check. But yeah, I'd be
love
curious.
to know how the economics of that work. So that's very interesting because it's used a lot.
Yes, I mean, it's packed.
And just how well it's kept up and how clean it is and how well it runs. Like, now the stations themselves, they're not lookers by
No.
any means. Like but the trains themselves are very nice trains.
Yeah.
They're very new. They're always on time. They work very well. Very clean inside. Yeah, that's an interesting one too. The whole tax thing is different here though too. There's no sales tax.
Yeah,
But your
everything
income is taxed pretty heavily, I understand.
Yeah, income's taxed pretty heavily. Sales tax is built into the prices of things. So like you don't pay extra taxes on top because it's already built in. But yeah, then income tax is taxed quite high. But we've talked about this. Like, I would be really interested to compare, because in the U.S., like, your income's maybe not taxed as much, but you're taxed in so many other areas. Like,
You're taxed every time you fucking...
Yeah, every other way. I would be really curious to compare, like, at the end of the day, being taxed so much up front here, but not taxed on, like, the additional things, versus not being taxed as much up front, but taxed on all the individual things. Like, what do they actually end up comparing to in the end? And are taxes in the U.S. similar to what Germany takes. But it's nice because, like, we get a lot of public services here because
Yeah.
of those higher taxes up front, and
You guys don't get AC though.
depends. A lot of public
Not
buildings.
saying that's a public service, but
No.
it's another observation I made.
Yeah, a lot of public buildings and restaurants do have it. Obviously, it's the winter right now, so they're not on. I think there's some legal rule where like government buildings can't have it. Like I remember my old university lab.
Like
in
a Save the Planet
Freiburg.
thing, or what is that?
Yeah, it's because part of it was
Classic.
like government owned. It couldn't have AC. I don't really remember.
Good, let them sweat it out.
Yeah, I don't really remember what the rule is there, but I think like private stuff can. It's like certain government things can't. But it's not as common here.
There's a joke there. I won't do it though.
Go for it.
No.
But yeah, you're really not going to find many places here with AC.
Yeah. Notice at the airport.
Yes.
And actually, a very nice hotel room doesn't have it. Don't need it, but
Doesn't. Yeah. It's true. We had to talk about your beloved shawarma stand.
I was gonna do that, and there was something else that popped into my head.
Well,
that
just
may or
in
may
general,
not
maybe
come
do you
back.
want to talk about like your opinion of the city centers and the like open air markets? Because that's not something we really have. In
Oh
the
yeah,
States.
no, like there's actual like history and
Mhm.
architecture and like statues and just really really pretty things that are there just for people to admire, and that's very nice.
Yeah.
I think that helps with the pace of things. Like
Yes.
you just want to sit outside at like the ice cream place or the coffee shop and just sit there and not necessarily be on your phone or on your laptop, but just watch people or look at the fountain or watch the ducks or whatever it is. And it's all very relaxing. Like it helped that I didn't have any service here,
Yeah.
but you know, I hardly looked at my phone for like a week straight, and it was great.
Yeah.
Because that time I would have been looking at my phone, I was outside. Like, it's the winter, too. I have not spent so much time outside since it was much warmer
We were outside
back at home.
constantly.
And I don't know how many miles we walked every day, but it didn't even feel like it. I mean, maybe towards the end of the day, you know, your back, your legs start hurting a little bit, but like when you're in it, it just feels so good to be out and about and
It's so
walking and doing things that like you just feel good. It's just.
Well, and the one night we were gonna go get dinner, it was like a 15-minute walk from where we were, and this is the end of the day. We've already walked 7 miles or so by now, and I feel like back home we would have been like, oh, 15 minutes, like let's just drive. But we were like, oh, it's only a 15-minute walk.
Right.
You know, like your mindset is really different. But yeah, like you, I think sent me something on Instagram when we were back at the Airbnb the other day, and I checked it, and I was like, I have not.
I know.
Like been on social media or my phone other than to like
The only time I would
get our
check it is when we
tickets.
would get back.
Yeah.
And I'd hop back on the Wi-Fi and I'd flip through any notifications and
But yeah, I was like, this is so nice. Like this is the first I've opened my Instagram in like a week. Like it was very nice, honestly, to not really be on my
see
phone.
reels
at
of
all.
people dying on Instagram all day.
Literally. But yeah, and so then in the middle of those like big city centers, we have these open air markets, and you have them every day except for Sundays, and it's food stands where the food is made fresh in front of you. It's produce stands where the like food is. I mean, it's farmers markets essentially, but you know, it's every day, and it's
amazing.
It's all day. It's
cash. That was another thing too. Cash is still very much not cash, but like
main,
physical. Tenant is actually
your main. Preferred for a lot of people.
Card is accepted, but like it's not the go-to.
Yeah.
And it's really only like what, Visa that gets accepted most, or
anything but American Express, because American Express has really high charges.
And they wouldn't let the cigar lounge accept American Express, which is interesting because of the Cubans.
Yeah.
Because they sell Cuban cigars there.
That was
Their
interesting.
reason why they could not offer American Express as a payment method there was because of that. It wasn't because of the high fees they'd be charged, strictly because of the Cuban factor, which is hilarious because who cares if they can?
Yeah.
Like, it's Germany. It's allowed here, but whatever.
It's so crazy. But I think American Express charges like 25%.
I've heard they charge very high. Yeah. Like, after this year, I'm not going to keep this card because they have a high annual fee on the card I have too. I'm just doing it for these trips back and forth here because why not? The
Is
miles
this
are
the
great.
Delta one?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the perks aren't great outside of that, so
Yeah.
don't need it.
Yep.
Shoot, there was something else I wanted to touch on. I don't know if it was about the city sort of layouts or the buildings.
City, transit.
I mean, we can talk about my shawarma stand.
You got to talk about it.
I probably got a shawarma
Every
at this
day.
stand in this sort of open air market every day for lunch.
Yes.
And it was better than any shawarma I've ever had in my life.
The price of food is another thing I will say. Like,
Yes.
like
even
he
even adjusting for like the actual like conversion rate
Yeah.
of euro to dollar, it's close, but it's still cheaper here.
Yeah. And just the quality of the stuff you're getting. Like, he was making the bread for the wrap.
They were
fresh
literally making
in front of us per person, and then everything else is made fresh in front of you, and you're paying €7 for it. And even €7 would be like considered high here. Like, I feel like if we weren't in the center, you'd pay like 4 or 5 for something like that. But
Because
still,
this is just
like,
a dad and his son just running the stand out there, and because it's so fresh, I mean, the price is cool because you literally watch them, the raw dough throwing on that little pan, you know.
So cool.
Yeah, every single wrap. It was so good. And then there was that huge dried fruit stand where you probably ate a pound of dried mango.
I've probably eaten 2 pounds of dried mango. Dried mango is my favorite snack of all time, and there's this stand where you can tell, like, very, I don't know, I guess I don't know the process for drying fruit, but it's like you can tell it's more small batch because the taste is different, the texture is different. It's so fresh, so good. The price is honestly better than store-bought.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just this giant dried fruit stand, and it is a problem that I know it exists.
Also, I haven't run into one yet, and even if I did, they were probably just stone expression, no emotion, but I don't think they have Swifties here. Or not German-born Swifties, at least.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know anyone who's a big Swiftie.
Now, we went into the bookstore, and her albums,
Of
in the
course,
vinyl section, she had the most out of any other single artist, I'd say. But I didn't get that here.
No.
Oh, the American store.
The American store!
That's what I was going to talk about.
Yes.
So tucked away in the corner of Nuremberg.
Yes.
It's a very strange combination.
Yeah.
But it's a store that is a celebration of British and American culture, essentially. And you can go in there and buy your American British snacks, drinks,
Clothes.
your Converse,
Branded
your
clothes.
Doc Martens.
Dickies, which I didn't realize that was
Dickies
known
was
as being like a massive...
Everywhere.
Yeah.
You'd think Dickies was like the pride and joy of America there. And then just a whole room dedicated to airsoft guns, which was just hilarious. Because the entire time, the only time I've ever seen a gun was either in that store or that one rooftop bar sign.
Oh, yeah.
It was
Sky
advertised
Bar.
as some American bar called like Sky Bar or something,
yeah.
and it had almost like a James Bond style marketing font and just guns, like, because it was American, which was hilarious. But in the American store, a whole room just dedicated to airsoft guns, which from the street in the EU,
It just looks like a
it's
giant
jarring.
wall of guns.
It's very jarring, but
Yes.
a welcoming sight. So I went in there. Upstairs, though, a whole bunch of clothes and a lot of camo too, which is kind of cool to see. Bunch of Flecktarn, obviously, because we're in Germany. A lot of just generic, like, costume sort of camo stuff that you'd see. The funniest thing that I almost bought, I tried on that one multicam
It was close.
combat jacket. If you hold it up to real multicam, it's very far apart. And I'll show you the picture if I can find that. When I'll go home, I'll hold up my pants. Because I think this brand was True Spec, which is not real legit. But I've never really seen this sort of knockoff multicam before until I heard it mentioned on another podcast. Someone said they bought a bunch of multicam from China and they said it looked pink. I was like, how can it look pink? This looks pink though, where the tan should have been.
It did.
It had almost like a pinkish hue. I took a picture. I'm pretty sure I'll be able to show it here. But for the first time, I was like, it actually looks pink.
Yeah.
So I couldn't buy that. I couldn't be walking around with pink multicam. I'd get shredded. So I put that down. But no, that store was objectively hilarious.
It was so good. I
Also,
remember.
super ironic that they put us with the British, though.
I think yes, it's so strange. Are we gonna be? Is this gonna ping
Yeah,
like
you're
too
fine.
far? Okay. Yeah. Talk about like a generalized.
Just the two English-speaking countries, I suppose.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know what? Actually, one thing I will say, and this does kind of irk me sometimes. People always want to talk about like Americans are unaware of a lot of the world, and to be fair,
We are.
we are. There's a lot that Americans like I think just don't want to know about, so they don't, or just don't know about in general. But it goes both ways. Like the stereotypes
yeah.
and the things that get said to me here by Germans, like it's actually I don't know. It's just almost the double standard of the whole thing. Like Americans are these people who don't know anything about anywhere, right? But then they'll question you on something or they'll ask you like a question about the US. And it's like, you guys are the exact fucking same. Like you have no
There's
idea.
such a sense of superiority
Yes,
here.
it is. And it's so
I'm
annoying.
not saying we don't have that.
No, it's
but I have
not,
an
but,
aunt
like-
who spent a couple years in Britain or whatever. I don't know for school or if she was actually raised there or what.
Wait, who? I'm sorry, I missed.
I have an aunt.
Oh, okay, sorry. Yeah.
And she has this sense of, and it may be because she went to a certain school, but she has, Britain, this, it's so much better there. All the food, which by the way is such a fucking joke. The food over there is atrocious.
It sucks.
But like, just thinks it's such a better place to be than America. And I'm like, I can't stand this. But no, I agree with you.
Yeah. Yeah, it's annoying. Like, or people ask me where I'm from, and I give a very generalized, not actually where I'm from. I say where I lived in Cleveland the last 5-6 years of my life, and I say Cleveland because it's a major city that people have sometimes heard of, whereas where I'm actually from, they won't know. So I'm going to say Cleveland. No one ever knows what it is or where it is or what part of the U.S. it's in. But if you were from the U.S. and the opposite happened, like if someone said they were from Frankfurt and you didn't know what part of Germany that was, they would comment, stupid American.
You're not going to like what I'm about to say.
Uneducated, what?
I don't think Cleveland is the equivalent of Frankfurt.
No, but I'm just saying, like, if you were to ask someone, like, it doesn't, okay, let's say somewhere more remote, like, I don't know, Dusseldorf. I don't know. Do you know where Dusseldorf is on the map?
Not
okay.
a clue.
Well, if you tell a German you don't know where that is, like, the response is like,
Scoff.
oh, don't they teach you anything in America? Like, I remember last year when I was living here the first time.
They taught us what happened in the 40s.
Yeah, literally. You want to talk about that? I was staying in another Airbnb, and this one had 2 rooms. So sometimes there are like a lot of guests coming in and out, which is cool. You get to meet a lot of people. And this one woman, she came for like some random hiking trip in the mountains with her friends, and her and I were like eating dinner together one day. And she's asking me something. She starts talking about this history of like a random like civil war that happened in Germany way back
They
in
had one of those?
Okay, not way back, but it was like definitely back like around before the war. And it's between these 2 random towns in Germany, and I had never heard of it. And she was like, do they not teach you about history in the U.S.? So I started listing stuff that happened in the U.S. I'm like, have you heard of X? Have you heard of Y, Z? And she's like, well, no, I guess not. Like, it really is such a superiority thing of like, Americans don't know anything. But when the exact opposite is like in question, they also don't know where half the shit is in the U.S. So to be fair, yeah, saying Cleveland, okay, a lot of people aren't gonna know what that is, but I usually just say I'm from Ohio.
There you go.
I don't really care if this is in or not. I don't live there anymore, so from Ohio. And people will say like, I don't know like what part of the U.S. is that. But that's my point. Like if someone were to be like, I'm from Italy, and you were like, I don't know what part of Europe that is. You would be called a stupid American, but you can't call them a stupid German or, whatever.
Stupid Frank.
Yeah. That's my little rant of the day, is that stuff.
No,
that kind of stuff does get annoying on the day-to-day.
That's fair.
Yeah.
They do walk around all pissy all day and looking for something to be angry at and to flex on, I feel like. Yeah. I don't think I got super rude treatment in my time here. Although I let you do all the talking, which is why I think.
No one was rude, and no one made comment. Like, when you and I would speak English together, like, no one's next to us making comments about, like, us speaking English. Because also it's extremely multicultural, not just in Germany, but in Europe in general. And most people do speak English, and not even just that. Like, there are so many cultures here that people speak whatever their own, like, native languages. Like, I think it's more accepted here to where you're not really going to get rude treatment if you are speaking another language, because the average person here speaks, like, 4 languages. So for them, it's not as big of a deal as it is in the U.S., I think, where, like, if you're speaking another language, it's a bit more like, we'll speak English. But
yeah.
But I'm glad that you did not feel like you got any rude treatment.
No.
Yeah. And I would say, like, speaking, like, for us, I don't think we got any, like, rude comments back or anything.
No. Oh, they did have their equivalent of, like, little Dearborn in Nuremberg.
Elaborate, because I don't know.
They just
what you're...
all the Arab people in one part of the town, just all the barber shops, the clothing shops.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
The same, like, 3 places all next to each other, and just the whole pocket of Nuremberg's just little Arab town.
Little shisha shops.
Yeah, yeah. They have their own little Dearborn.
Yes. No, that is true. There are little pockets.
That was funny. Watching, I was like, we walked past the same 3 barber shops, I think.
I know.
They're all, like, across the street from each other within, like, a quarter-mile radius. Thank God they're there, though. Their food is a welcome sight.
Amazing.
It's either that or you're eating brats and schnitzel,
the thing,
which isn't bad, but you do need a break.
When they say they want the internationals to go home, it's like, fine, I'll take my skills.
The beer's
Arabs
fine.
Will take their
the
food,
beers are great. The food's good too, but you need to break it up. They
Yeah.
don't have a whole lot to offer, the Germans, as far as food goes.
Ah, yeah, you had your first Radler.
Very good.
Yes.
My dad makes that thing at home, which is sort
It's
of not exactly
the
that.
same.
It's close enough.
I'm going to be a purist and say it's what your dad makes is very good, but they're
It's
two
not the
different
same.
things.
I know, but it's close.
They're 2 different things.
They are different things, but
they
very
are both
reminiscent.
very good.
Yes,
but
so
yeah,
very
Radler
good.
in the summer on the water. So
Yes,
nice.
very good. It's like a shandy with a little more bubbles. It's good.
But overall, you enjoyed your first
I did.
European experience.
Jet lag wasn't bad. If you fly in at night, I think that's the way to do it. Leave at night. My flight took off around 8. Got here in the morning, so it felt, like a natural sort of transition. Even though I objectively lost a lot of sleep.
Yeah,
but it wasn't that bad. The mornings were a little tough, but that's not a big deal.
The place that we stayed, you actually ended up finding it. The window had a perfect view of the castle, and at nighttime the castle was lit up. It was so cool. So I have to give you kudos to finding that place because the view was amazing.
And maybe maybe that was a tangent I wanted to go on earlier. I think because of the historical aspect of it, like, there is still a cultural identity and a pride there, and I think that contributes a lot to just sort of not only the pace of life that's able to sort of maintain itself there, but also the safety at the same time. And there's another side to Nuremberg that I just didn't get to witness because, like, new graffiti popped up nightly everywhere. And I never saw it going up, but, like, we'd pass a corner and something new would go up, like, almost every day. Stickers everywhere, graffiti everywhere. I mean, we passed by that great Italian place, and the next day, like, some of the windows are broken. So, like, that rowdiness no doubt happens at night from people walking around and drinking. There is still that little level of, like, defiant nature in the underbelly, which is kind of cool. You need a little edginess to it. But during the day, you don't see get, like, any of that. I mean, we walked that whole city 5 times over during the week we were there.
Well, I told you the other week, I was taking, like, a long-distance train, and one of them got canceled and delayed because of vandalism. I mean, it was, like, the generic answer that they gave, but yeah, I mean, there's definitely, like, that side of it. Like, there's a lot of protests and rioting going on here right now for many different things, but yeah, you're right. Like, that stuff, it does pop up.
So I didn't get to see that, but really the point I was trying to make was with like, because you see the castle, the cobblestone, the old buildings everywhere, like that sense of identity and cultural identity is important, I think, to an area, because like that helps. So there's sort of that thing for people to identify with and sort of like maintain. Whereas you go to like a big city here, it looks like it was made by a computer.
Yeah.
And there's really no human element or history to it. And so like there's nothing really I don't know. There's no real point of reference for people, I think. And there's pros and cons to both ways. Like, this isn't really a drivable city. There's certain aspects of it that aren't convenient at all. Like when we tried to get to the station and we ended up on the other side of a castle wall with a moat in between the way. We're like, how the fuck do we get across this?
That was my bad. I should not have followed that
I would
direction.
prefer that, though, because like objectively, I think it's prettier. Like, not everything's this industrial modern thing. Like, you're in this old town, but you get castles and trees and river and nature flowing through it. And I like that. Personally, I think that's just better. But I think that also contributes a lot to just people sort of being more communal and just it being safer and just happier and easier to live in general, I think.
Yeah, there are really, long and deep-rooted traditions and aspects of culture that, we, of course, don't, I think, necessarily have back home. We do, but to the extent, I think, is a bit different, like you were saying.
Yeah. And you mentioned part of the southern part of Nuremberg being a little rougher, possibly due to the refugee situation. Also, I think you were right about it maybe being, hit harder during the war or not recovering faster, after the war. And I think that's something people don't really overlook is that, like, actions or events that take place at certain times have these effects over centuries. Like, we look at when the government flooded the whole, area of Cali with crack, essentially, like, still feeling that very much. And, like, you look at everything else that's sort of, like, the pandemic, we're still dealing with inflation, the economy being fucked, house prices being astronomically high. Like, it's hard to really look at the things unfolding in front of us as like, wow, this might actually have negative effects for a very, very long time and very serious negative effects. And like, I don't think anyone would really consider that like outcomes and, the aftermath of a world war still playing out in a region and how it's livable today is still a thing. But I feel like that's a very real possibility.
No, it's like you have the reminders here in front of you truly every day, like of these consequences in ways that you don't. I think it's easier for us to not necessarily turn a blind eye, but just like not.
We don't fight the wars at home. We go to other places and blow it up.
But then they're left with all of the remnants, and we get to go home and say, well, out of sight, out of mind. But it's very much still a thing here for a long time, and there are physical remnants of it every single day, and it's 2024, and you still see the consequences of World War II, just as an example, obviously in Germany, but it's very much part of the everyday life, I would say, like the consequences of these wars. You're reminded of them so much more, and Nuremberg really got destroyed quite badly during the war, and especially like those southern parts and some of the outskirts. And it's sad because we didn't go quite up as far north. We just, we explored a lot, but you only have so much time.
Yeah.
But in the north, there's some beautiful, beautiful historic, like just homes and buildings and stuff. And then, to go into the south where there was so much of the destruction, and now it's just things had to be cheaper, right? And they had to get put up quickly because you have all these people who are displaced after a war, and it's such a stark difference, and it's startling, and it's kind of sad to see. And I think they just have to live with those reminders a bit more blatantly than we do.
Yep. Trying to think.
But you're coming back to Europe soon.
I am. I'm going to the John Wick Church for Easter Sunday.
Going to the John Wick Church.
Which, as someone with the level of autism that I have, could simply not be turned down.
Can I tell a little bit about how this trip came to be?
Tread lightly. Go ahead.
What?
No, go ahead.
So I'm talking about because I get some extra time off for Easter here for work, and I was like, I don't have enough time where I can fully. Actually, I can't travel back home yet. My visa is
Yeah,
still
your visa's
pending.
still pending.
So, wait, am I? Well, I just freaked out for a second. I was like, wait, can I even go to France? But yeah, it'll be processed by then.
Cool.
Okay, but my visa will have just finished processing by then. But also, I didn't have enough time off where I could like fully go for a trip, and I'm coming home in like a few weeks after that anyway. So I'm rambling. But point being, I had some extra days off, and I was like, God, what should I do for Easter? My family's not here, obviously. I was like, I'm going to take a trip somewhere. I kind of thought about somewhere in Italy because I can get there somewhat fast from here. And I was like, no, I really want to go back to Paris in the spring. And I think it'd be really cool to do Easter in one of the churches there. So I'm telling you this, and I feel like you were kind of floating the idea a little bit. And then I said, I'm going to go to Sacré-Cœur Sunday for Easter Mass. And you go, is that the John Wick Church? Yep. Okay, I'm in. There was nothing
When you
encouraged
said it,
you more.
and it just clicked.
I
I didn't know
know.
what it was. Like I recognize the name sounded so familiar. I was like, what is that? I feel
But I'm
like I've
saying all
heard
these
of that
other
before, and I
fun
was like,
things.
I'm not a Europe fan. Like I don't know locations or landmarks. Like why does that name sound so familiar? And then when I thought about it, I was like, wait
And
a
then
second.
you go,
That's a John Wick Church.
yep,
I have to go.
you have to go.
I'm going. Yeah.
Yeah, that's going to be a fun trip.
Yeah, that'll be cool.
And yeah, we'll do a little recap again and see how you feel about the two places.
Yeah. I wish there was more of those riots going on, though. I would have loved to see those.
Well, depending what time, yeah, we're going to have more here around that time in Germany.
Yeah, so your trains, the people working your trains were going on strike. Now your airports.
Trains, airports, farmers, and delivery
Yeah, your
drivers.
farmers were also going. I think the farmers are starting to win, though. They're gaining traction now. Like the French, I think, got most of their demands.
French
if
settled.
not all of them.
Yeah, Germany's still going, but Germany, they're very courteous protesters. They will protest, give a notice when they're going to, and then not do it again for some amount of time. At least the train drivers. So, like, they gave notice in February when they were doing it, and then they're not going to do it again until, like, middle of March. But I think part of that is to give the company time to, like,
Yeah.
Consider
I'm
their
talking more
negotiations.
so, like, if I could have helped
Right,
a
I
French
know.
farmer spray a government building with manure, I would have been first in line.
I'm sure you would have been.
That would have been a souvenir enough for me.
Yes. Yes. Well, I'm sorry.
That just goes
disappoint.
hard, objectively. I think that's very cool. And I wish we would start doing that more at home.
Well, who knows? There may be some protests for you to see when we go back.
That'd
But
be
I think it
sweet.
would be cool for you to compare the two places and
Yeah.
see how you
Curious to see if Paris really smells.
No, people have such...
I've heard it stinks.
I think people
Or maybe
are...
that was just the French people in general. I don't know.
No, I think people are a little... I don't know. I think people can be pretentious.
What about
if
the
they don't
rudeness
have...
level there?
No, I had very, very pleasant experiences in Paris, more so than anywhere in
When's the
France.
last time you went?
a year. Whenever I was here last, so not 20.
Actually, this is a
3,
good
but 24,
perspective.
22.
Yes, go through your experience as a lone woman
Mm-hmm.
in Paris.
Okay, but I think this maybe helped me because I was alone. I don't think I stuck out as much as a tourist. And I'm also just someone who's like, I'm pretty aware of my surroundings. Like, I'm not going to carry a big open bag for someone to just stick their hand in, Like, I think that, like, you have to just keep in mind with what you have on you. But yeah, I mean, I went alone. But that may have helped me because maybe I didn't stick out, like, in a big tourist group.
Yeah.
I also can speak French not fluently anymore because now
You had to make room for the
my
German.
German comes out instead, but enough to get around or at least initiate a conversation. And I think all of that helps with safety a bit, if you can blend in a little bit. But yeah, when I was here that first time, I went to a city called Strasbourg, which is more like east of France, really close to Germany, Paris. So those are the more like northeast stuff I've done, I would say, I guess. And then I've done a bit of south of France as well. South of France, beautiful but rude ass people, and they will pretend like north of France and south of France, in my opinion, speak two completely different types of French. Like Parisian French is not the same as what it is in the South, and in the South they would act like they could not understand a word of what I was saying, and they would just speak English. But yeah, I had a really, really pleasant experience in Paris, and I didn't feel unsafe. I took the metros alone the whole time. There was this one night, there was like this famous restaurant that I wanted to try, and I went on like this 3-hour dinner by myself. Ended up like befriending people in the restaurant and didn't leave until very, very late, and had to take like the metro back to the other side of the city, and I felt fine. Like it's populated enough, you know. I don't think I experienced too much rudeness. I mean, there are times when like my French wasn't good enough and the other person didn't speak English, and then it's more just like, what do we do here? Like you have to figure out how to communicate, but it's awkward, and I'm sure they're a little bit frustrated. But yeah, there was this one place I went to like the first day I got there, and I was waiting to check into my hotel, and their food was really good and their coffee was good, so I went back the next day, and the waiter was like, "Oh, you're back. Do you want your same table?"
Oh, wow.
So I think that they are actually really friendly. I think they're friendly if you like put in a little bit of effort.
Sort of like how our shawarma stand guy recognized us today.
Yes.
Put a little something extra on ours.
And we were always nice to him. Like I think that's what it is. Like I think sometimes people come expecting a certain level of comfort that we're used to back home, and you're not going to have that here. Like it's just a very different way of life, and you have to be open-minded to that if you're coming to these places. And that's when I think people get frustrated, and like they want things fast and they want it instantly, and they want travel to be easy, and sometimes that's not the case. Sometimes, like what we were saying, you're going to sit in a restaurant until you get the person and say like I want to leave. Like they're not going to be on top of you trying to like get you out of the restaurant. Like it's a slower pace, and I think sometimes people get a little irked with that, and this is just my experience, like hearing people tell me stories about like why they found Paris to not be enjoyable or to be rude. It's been a little bit of like, well, it sounds like maybe you could have been a little more,
fair.
open to the culture. But who knows? Maybe we'll go there in a month and they'll all be assholes, and then I'll sing a different tune. But
no,
I really enjoyed it.
I've always been on, people make fun of the French for surrendering and objectively hilarious jokes. I've always sung their praises because, they know how to riot when it comes time for, the government's really stepping on people's toes, and it's time to really start showing force. They can throw down when that happens objectively. But I asked you, what your experience was as a female, like a lone female, because there's a social media. And I asked you because it could be completely just in a vacuum, which it usually is, not reality. But there's a reel that I've seen that's popped up several times now of girl alone at the Eiffel Tower at night trying to film, take pictures. And she is approached and asked, like, how much for sex, basically. For like in a 2-minute video at least 30 times.
Yeah.
Not by Frenchmen, mind you, but I was just curious.
Yeah. I mean, I also think too, like, I tried to be smart. Okay, I'm aware of how what I'm about to say comes out, but I was smart about what I was wearing in terms of accessories. Like, I wasn't wearing, like, designer things. And like,
mind you, she was white girl, blonde hair.
I'm not saying that.
Skinny, like, blue dress sort of thing.
I'm not saying this about her whatsoever, but I'm saying I think that helps when you go to these places, because if you look at, like, the locals versus the people who are visiting, which honestly, do it up. Like, wear whatever the hell you want to wear. Like, if you have a really nice outfit, you say because you want to wear it for Paris, wear it. Like, I'm all for that. You've heard me bitch that I don't like sometimes how casual things are in Germany, and like I get questioned a lot about like what are you dressed up for when I'm wearing an outfit in the US it would be considered like underdressed, you know, like, so I'm all for like look nice. But if you look at the locals, like it's a different style than what people who are not locals are going to wear. Like they're typically flashier, and you're going to stand out a little bit more if you're wearing like, I mean, the Parisians are also, like, they're really stylish, so this is kind of a bad comparison. But I'm just saying, I think if you go places alone, I've
and you
always
don't make a
tried to just
conscious effort to
not,
fit in.
yeah, I've always tried to not like stand out too much with my accessories. Now, when we go together, I obviously have some outfits planned, but I
Yeah.
feel like more comfortable in wearing them because I will have someone else there
Mm-hmm.
with me, to where I feel more comfortable like bringing out certain things. But
Fair.
that not necessarily was not about that girl. That was just me saying like when I solo travel,
Yeah.
I tried to limit like external things on me, I guess, just to stick out less of like she might have, you know.
And I asked that obviously because I'm not telling you to
Mhm.
solve for why that was happening, but just wanted to get your opinion because, obviously you went there on your
Mhm.
own very recently, so relevant as a comparison, but also because there's a lot of reasons why people would find not to travel
Yeah.
outside of the country. Tensions are very high all over the world right now. The world's, could be a very scary place. And if you're on
Mhm.
social media in an echo chamber and just see terrible things happening, that's just one video too.
Yeah.
I never saw another one like that. But if that's the only video I see about Paris and all I see
Right.
is this lone white girl getting approached by these not Frenchmen asking her for sex to pay her for sex, that's
Mhm.
her entire experience in Paris. Why would I ever trust anyone I know to go to Paris? Why the fuck would I ever want to go to Paris
Yeah.
when I came here and, I had an absolutely amazing time where I
Mhm.
was able to be outside all day. I enjoyed cigars, great coffee, great food, great drinks, and just
Mhm.
completely unplugged and had an amazing time. Never once felt stressed or anything. Got to enjoy an amazing part of the world with you. And like, if I just stuck on my phone and saw just,
Right.
all the Ukrainian refugees
Yeah.
and, all the nonsense happening here with, how Germany's viewing Israel and that conflict too, and how
Mhm.
they're just as involved as we are, basically. Like, why would I ever want to do that? Like, yes, all that's happening, but that's like,
There's still a
that's
culture
part of the
outside
world,
of it.
yes.
Yeah. There's
But like,
still.
there's things to still see and enjoy, and
Yeah.
I think it's important if you can, and if you're interested in doing so, like,
Mhm.
check it out, see what it's like. Not
Yeah.
saying you have to love it or move or want to come
No.
back, but it's always a good perspective.
Yeah, and it's just good to like change that opinion of this place that everyone says is so, smelly, dangerous. Also, people who say Paris is smelly, like, are you hanging out in the alleys? Like,
I've heard
I've,
this since a very young age too. I don't know where it comes from, but I remember hearing that for a very long time about it
yeah,
being a
but I'm
stinky
like,
place.
if you walk in like the streets and in the parks, and I mean, it's a lot like Germany. Like, everything is, very open. You're outside all the time. You're at cafes. Like, I don't find it to be smelly, but I guess if you're in like the alleys where the trash cans are, then
Well, sure,
sure.
yeah,
But like, I don't understand where these, I don't know. And of course, there are areas of Paris that aren't, you know, Paris, that
like
aren't
every area,
beautiful
like
and
every city,
whatever.
yeah.
Sure, of course, your lower income areas are probably not going to look as nice and probably not going to be as well kept. But I'm assuming that's not where the tourists are traveling at the same
Yeah.
time. So I'm not really considering those areas. But yeah, I think you'll find it to be a lot like here in terms of like the pace and leisure and like the open drinking and smoking and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
but a little more stylish, which is
Sure.
nice. Um, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like sometimes I get, well, obviously I just did. Like I kind of got defensive for Paris because I don't fully know where that stereotype comes from. And someone else can come and have a completely different experience
Yeah,
from me,
exactly.
and that's fine. You can come and maybe had a bad time and they were rude and it was smelly. That's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like I don't know. I always feel a little bit to come to its defense somewhat. And not even just with Paris, like you know this, my favorite place in the US is New Orleans. I've been, I don't know, probably 10 times at this point. Like, I love that city so much. And same thing, people who've never been there will be like, oh, but New Orleans is so dangerous and it's so smelly. And it's like, but have you been, like, and I understand that's a privileged thing to say, like, have
Sure.
you been there? But that kind of is the point. Like, if you're just basing it on, like you said, a random video that you saw, but you don't actually know someone who's, like, been there personally to talk about their experience, like, these places I think get really bad reputations, but yeah, I don't know. I guess you also just have to go into them with a bit of an open mind. Like, it's not going to be, the most convenient
Yeah.
place of your
That's
life,
fun, though.
but that's what you're going for.
It should be a fun thing to do, to try new
Yeah.
things. And
Yeah. I'm sorry for that 20-minute answer
No,
to
that's
your very
good.
simple
That's
question.
what I was looking for, honestly.
Now, south of France, I don't know. I mean, you could definitely solo travel there, but there were places where did not feel as safe to me as
That's
the,
good to be
like,
aware of,
northern
though.
or eastern parts, I would say.
Yeah, it's important to be aware of.
Mm-hmm.
Where I had a thought, it's gone now. I need to eat. I think that's why I'm blanking on things. We've been at it for almost 90 minutes.
Okay, there's one other topic, but only if we're good on Germany and Europe but you did have a good experience.
Yes, did have a good experience.
Good. We watched some TV this week.
I was wondering if we're going to get into this.
We have to.
First of all, I really started watching Seinfeld, like, for real.
Yeah, and you're liking it.
Which may sound kind of crazy, but like the only time I've ever seen it on, or it's like I wake up at a friend's house if I slept over, and it just happens to be on. Never actually watched the full episode. Yeah, I've never actually seen a full episode. It's a good show.
It's really funny.
Yeah, it beats Friends, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Friends sucks, but I won't go down that rabbit hole.
I'm glad that you like it, Seinfeld. But we started season 6 of Love is Blind.
Okay.
And
I'll be the first to admit, because I have, being what this show is, like...
Sorry, yes, I have to remember...
And this episode really isn't, it's not about guns. We go into government and, like, freedom a little bit and just seeing other parts of the world and stuff, but, like, it's something that people would listen to because, you know, this is your people talking. You listen to your people talking to identify with them. What we're about to go into, I need to defend myself a little bit, okay? Garbage TV. We all watch a little garbage TV from time to time, and I will be the first to admit, my garbage show back years and years ago when I had a TV, I'd watch Love Island, the UK version. Because, man, if you ever wanted to feel good about your level of intelligence, if you ever wanted to just laugh at some really stupid things people say seriously, that was it. Or just watch terrible relationships just crash and burn. A great time. This, however, what we watched this week, one of the best.
So good.
So goddamn funny.
So good. This is season 6 that we're watching now. Season 1, in my opinion, is like the best season of the show because no one was getting famous from it yet. You know, people were
sort of like
chaotic.
Love Island.
Yes, honestly, like
before people started showing up with PR firms behind them, because you can tell when behaviors shifted. The first 2 seasons, people were losing their clothes. Yes. They were getting piss drunk every night, saying off the wall shit, smoking cigarettes 24/7, banging left and right. And then season 3, 4 roll around. Everything after, everyone is prim and proper, and maybe one drink. No one smokes anymore. No one's getting naked for any cameras, like, because they know when it's over, I am a social media influencer. Yes. And that I'm going to make it. So my image has to, you know, remain intact.
Yes.
I see that here too, between the first season and this one.
Yeah, so in this I'll give like a 30-second summary.
Because you know anyone listening to this has never seen this show. I hope they've never seen this show.
This episode is a palate cleansing episode. Like we're catching up, recapping Germany.
You are the only female listener and fan of the show, so you get your own segment.
Well, I don't want that to mean that, like, now we talk about girly trash TV.
We learned about the other side of the world. That was an important conversation. That was a good conversation to have.
We talked about some government protesting.
Yes. But this is what, you know, you're on, so...
True. And we did I even said to you, me specifically got very spicy in the last episode, and I felt a little bad about that last time I was on. So we needed a good, like, palate cleansing episode together, I think.
It's a good end, good recap to a good trip. So yes. Bring up the idiots on.
Okay, so in Love is Blind, if you have not seen it, Netflix show, go watch. Essentially, people are in these pods where they can't see each other. So you're blind dating, basically.
Literally.
So everyone's blind dating, and then after a couple of weeks...
blind dating to where you talk to somebody through, like, a wall. Like, you cannot see them. You just go off each other's voices for, like, a week, basically. They're weeks. You never see each other.
Yeah, they get 2 weeks, and at the end of the 2 weeks, the guy either proposes or you go home. You don't make it to the next part of the show.
If that sounds stupid, like a really bad idea...
Just wait.
You're right, because it's a terrible idea.
It is, but it gets worse. So then after that, all the engaged couples go to Mexico or somewhere together, and they're there for a few days. But usually tensions are high because everyone was obviously dating each other in the pods, they call it. And you might have a guy who proposed to a girl and some other girl felt jaded by it, so then she kind of manipulates someone else into proposing to her.
And now they're stuck in Mexico together.
And now everyone's in Mexico together, and then, old flings, whatever. It's good drama on that front. So then they leave Mexico and they have to go back home for 4 weeks, and the show basically puts them in like apartments together. And at the end of those 4 weeks,
which is very generous now, considering how expensive everything is.
Very generous.
Maybe it is worth going on the show.
Maybe it is. At the end of those 4 weeks, they have to get married, or not get married, but they have to go through with like a wedding and walk down the aisle and like do the decision up there.
Because their contract says so.
Yep. And there was a girl last season who actually like got in a lawsuit with them because she was having big problems like with the guy or something, and was like, I cannot even like get to the point of going to the altar, and she wouldn't do it. And then the show sued her for breaking her contract, and she was like, well,
but this show's gotten in trouble legally before too, right?
Because they weren't like feeding the contestants, and they were making them be in the pods for so long with like very little food and water, that now if you watch the newer seasons, it's so staged. They will put in bits of them eating and making cooking in the kitchen and making comments about it, like, this food's so good, what do you think the guys are having over there? And then it'll flip to the guys like room, and it'll show them cooking breakfast.
They only did one scene like that though in the first episode of the latest season, because they just got sued and they said, here, hold this. But just so funny. The whole thing's like pitched as like a social experiment, but then to hear that lawsuit, and they're like, oh, they just weren't feeding or giving water to the lab rats. It was literally just
So unfortunately Netflix only puts out, it's like 10 episodes total. They did the first 5, and then we had to wait until actually today the next 5 came out.
Get some room service and watch that.
It's room service and Love is Blind coming up.
Room service and garbage TV.
Yes.
Just like we're back home in America.
Do a trip. I know. I need to feel a little bit of America on this trip also. But just a hilarious moment in this.
Spoiler alert. If you plan on watching season 6 of Love is Blind, which I don't think anyone listening to this would, you can end the episode now.
Yeah, stop now. But the Megan Fox comparison.
Okay.
I'm going to let you take
Guy's
over
perspective.
Here.
This dude's a software sales guy. Not a bad looking dude objectively. So he's well off. He's a good looking dude, and he can hold a decent conversation. He's got a deep voice. He is somewhat into these 2 women.
Yes.
The baggage one is bringing, her background, I guess, if you will. She's a flight attendant.
Yes.
Didn't go to school.
Yes.
Was divorced before.
Yes.
On the other side, the girl that he's into was divorced?
She just
or
has
only had
daughter.
A kid. A 10-year-old daughter, by the way.
Yes, she's 28, had a child, and she's in high school.
These are all, late 20s, mid-30s, low, like, early 30s.
Yeah, so she has a 10-year-old.
10-year-old daughter that she's bringing as baggage, which, objectively, huge
it's a big decision
thing to come over. And by the way, you don't get to see this person. You just talk to them on the other side of a wall for a couple of weeks. And so, for whatever reason, he gets stuck with these 2 unfortunate options. And he's dating, he's going back and forth, he's talking. It's such a struggle for Jimmy to decide who he wants to propose to, as if he has to propose at all. Like, given the options, Jimmy, you just should have walked away.
You could say no. Yeah, you could just
You're
walk
literally
out.
talking to a wall, Jimmy.
Yes.
Like, you haven't seen these people. You don't owe these people anything.
Yeah.
Like, I get you're on the show. You don't have to be on the show, though, man. Like, you're just going to embarrass yourself at this point. So we're getting sort of close to the time where decisions have to be made, and Jimmy's really, really trying to, be okay with the girl, with the kid. Like, you can see he is really trying to be like, I can see this working. I want kids of my own.
Yeah.
But like and she was cool with having more kids, and loving them equally. She was saying all this stuff.
Another big thing for him, though, for the other girl is he talked so much about wanting to travel, and she was a flight attendant.
Yes.
So I think he was really torn
between,
like, I want kids, but also I do want to travel.
Mind you, though, Jimmy's never left the country.
No.
At this point, before they went to Mexico.
No.
So they're always going back and forth. And the conversation, now he's talking to the flight attendant, not the girl with the kid. The conversation gets to a point where, you know, sometimes the contestants will bring up looks. Sometimes it gets shot down because the whole purpose of the show is about, you know, you're not dating based on looks. You're supposed to get to know this person for who they really are and fall in love with them for, you know, who they are, not what they look like, which is such bullshit. Because physical attraction is a very real fucking thing. And so somehow the conversation with Jimmy and I think Chelsea or whatever her name is, the flight attendant chick, gets to the point about looks. And Jimmy asks her, you know, has anyone ever told you you look like a celebrity? And she's like, yeah, but like, I don't want to say. And she jumps around, she beats around the bush for this. And then finally she goes, well, people have told me I look like Megan Fox, but I don't believe them.
But wait, she doesn't even, she says, I look like MGK's girlfriend or wife, as if she can't even be deigned to know who Megan Fox is.
After trying to deflect and then finally giving that half-assed answer, it cuts to Jimmy. His mouth is now on the ground, and he goes, you look like Megan Fox?
Silent, doing jumping jacks of excitement on the other side of that wall.
This girl looks like 3.5 Megan Foxes put together, and then...
Facial features honestly do not look like Megan Fox. Like, She
has, like, the jaw shape of, like, a shark. If you look under a shark, how the mouth sort of comes to an A point, and her mouth is shaped like that. And it looks like she ate 3.5 Megan Foxes. But Jimmy, being a guy and unable to see her, and only her, you know, feminine voice on the other side of the wall, is jaws on the ground, and in disbelief goes, no way, you look like Megan Fox. And now he has to sit on this for another week and a half. And
in that moment, he said, I don't want to be a dad.
And in that very moment, you saw him. He was simply unable to get over the mental mountain, which was the 10-year-old daughter. Because in his defense, as a guy, if you are given the option of woman with a 10-year-old daughter or recently divorced Megan Fox, you're going with recently divorced Megan Fox 10 out of 10 times. And so, and oh, by the way, what's even funnier is the woman with the 10-year-old daughter.
Stunning.
Objectively a very attractive individual.
She is beautiful, and no, I wouldn't say she looks like Megan Fox, but she is stunning.
Yes, a very attractive individual. So, Jimmy ends up proposing to the quote-unquote, the Kirkland brand Megan Fox, if you will, the Goodwill Megan Fox, if you will. And in his breakup meeting with, basically he has to let down the woman with the daughter. She knows at this point who he proposed to, and basically what was shared and what was said somehow got back to her. And her rant at the end says, dude, you're going to need a fucking inhaler when you see what you got engaged to versus what I look like. Just basically shit on him, which, good moment.
Yes.
Good for her. Talk your shit and go. I respect that. You got to go down swinging. The moment comes where Jimmy has to now he has to face his actions.
Yes.
And after they propose through the wall, they can't see each other. Will you marry me? She says yes. They are allowed to see each other face to face before they're shipped off to Mexico. He puts the ring on her finger. The doors open, the screens lift, whatever, and Jimmy's face goes red. Instantly is like, oh my God, what have I done? Trying his best to fake excitement while he's face to face, you know, with this person. And then, like, you know, it's reality TV. So you see what happens and it'll cut away. It's like a confessional thing where it's just them talking to the camera. And the first time we see Jimmy in the confessional after he sees her face to face just goes, well, she lied about her looks. Like, the only thing that made his decision that easy was her saying, look like Megan Fox. And it is so clear from that moment to the point where we're at, where they're in Mexico now, he is so physically unattracted to her and so revolted by her.
They lay in the bed, and his lower half is a diagonal line from...
It is TV. I've never watched... I don't think I've ever seen like a show where I want to look away. Like, it's so uncomfortable to watch. I find myself like one eye almost like on the TV and like my face trying to look away because it's just so
It's so
uncomfortable to
uncomfortable.
see how just revolted he is by this person.
His compliment, because he has to come up with something when they meet each other. Because she's all over him, she's obsessed, she thinks he's so cute, and she's telling him this.
She definitely
She's
came
so
out on
into
top
him.
of this deal. Yeah.
Yes, came out on top. Now, to be fair, I don't think Jimmy is that good looking. Like, I don't think enough for these women to fight. Like, he's a cute guy, but not like...
That's 10 for her, though.
Yes. But, so, yeah, he has to come up with something. She obviously thinks he's the cutest thing ever, whatever. And he goes, you got really nice teeth. He's got this little southern accent.
Yeah.
That's his compliment, is that she has really nice teeth. And she even goes... my teeth, like that's all you can come up with.
Or when they're in Mexico and all the couples are together and he's literally staring at another one's just ass and literally tells his fiance now, unfortunately, look at the ass on that one, basically.
Yes. Now she turns around and brings it to everyone's attention and makes a joke about it. And then at the end of that day, like that they're all like out there, gets mad that everyone then knew, but like gets mad at him that everyone then knew. Am I making sense in what I'm saying?
She tried to be loud, funny girl and let everyone know that Jimmy said her ass was big. Ha ha ha, so funny. And then
because she didn't like that, it made her uncomfortable. But instead of just saying that to him, like, hey, I didn't like that.
But everyone has that friend though. That
yes, I know the loud,
is funny girl who
yes.
makes up for usually some physical deficiency with being loud and being obnoxious and being one of the boys, quote unquote.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then she got mad that everyone knew, and it's like, but you're the one who told everyone.
Yeah, tale as old as time.
Yeah. So it's fantastic TV. If you need a break from
and literally
reality,
every episode is a textbook manual on what not to do in a relationship or how not to find a good partner.
Oh, so this girl had two men fall in love with her. The non-Megan Fox had two guys fall in love with her, and the one guy, Trevor,
the one with the daughter, or no, Megan Fox,
Chelsea,
quote, looking like,
Chelsea, yeah,
the one who looks like 3.5 Megan Foxes. Yeah.
The other guy that was like in love with her and was gonna propose to her. I, in the beginning, was like, this guy is going to be such a little F-boy. I was not
Well, he's this
for
ripped
him.
dude with, like, a mullet, and he came on talking about how good he looks, how ripped he is. You're like, this guy's a fucking douchebag and a half. He ended up being a good guy.
He's the sweetest little guy, but he set some fire line to her, something like, so you're going to, like, choose a guy who didn't know if he wanted another girl rather than someone who was 100% for you. But she was just holding out hope so hard for Jimmy. And Jimmy heard the Megan Fox line. And now they're all paying the consequences of that action. And it's so funny.
Well, actually, this show, I remember listening to Dave and Chuck the Freak. And I don't know if it's directly related, or if it's cause and effect, but it is related. Where people, you know how on dating apps, I think... I don't know if Tinder does it, but I think Hinge does it, where you can do like voice like replies.
Oh yeah.
So people can hear like what you sound like. People have been having their friends do it for them if they think their friends have better voices. So like not only to look out for people catfishing you with pictures, people are now using different voices.
Crazy.
But that's the crazy part about the show to watch too.
Yes.
Because it is strictly playing off of people's like need to project, basically. Because you hear a voice, and the voice can not match, and typically it doesn't match what it looks like on the other side. And so naturally, as a human, you're going to build up this person based on their responses, based on how their voice sounds, up to be the best they possibly can be, depending on how you're hearing that voice. Like if it's a very girly voice, if it's, not like raspy or they don't sound big or anything, like that person's going to be an 11 out of 10 supermodel, like the most attractive thing you could possibly imagine in your head. And when that door opens, and they could still be an objectively very pretty person, it's not going to meet that expectation no matter what. Well, and so it's preying on that, and it's just hilarious to watch build up and play out.
And this guy 100% proved love is not blind because he...
Well, no, it's not.
Is, I know. But he made his decision the second she said she looked like Megan Fox, he was done.
Yeah.
And so that's what he was expecting and hoping for. But we're at the part now where the aftermath of all of that's playing out. And there's an accusation that he apparently sleeps with someone else, and we're about to get to that episode.
I think so they naturally, because it's reality TV, they reintroduce on purpose, like the people they were seriously like dating before their proposal. So naturally, the chick with the 10-year-old daughter comes back, and based on previews of future episodes, he bangs her while engaged to the 3.5 times Megan Fox. Like, just hilarious. Garbage TV, but man, after a day of like walking Germany and having a very cultural 24 hours, what a way to undo all of it.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
So good.
It's excellent. That's a nice light note to end it on, I think.
It is.
Let's go order some food.
Order some room service.
I'm starving.
Yes.
Oh, I am now an espresso fiend. I don't know. I think I said coffee's ruined for me forever at the beginning, but I had to order a little Mr. Coffee espresso machine because I can't drop over $100 on an espresso machine. So I bought like the $45 Mr. Coffee espresso machine, which will last forever because the very first coffee machine I had in college was a hand-me-down from my mom, and it was this old. It was white, but now it's a cream-colored Mr. Coffee drip like coffee machine that still works. She pulls it out for parties because you can make the whole pot.
Is that the percolator thing that she?
No, different. She has the same Mr. Coffee machine that I had in college that she gave to me.
That's amazing.
She'll still pull out for parties because she could just make coffee by the pot that way. Because otherwise they'll use the Keurig. So I bought that for espresso. Got my little tamper distributor, the whole beans, the coffee grinder. I bought a shaker now so I can make espresso martinis because that's my thing now too. Like, if you don't know what to drink, and the night's really, you're not gonna go crazy because we never went out. We didn't go like clubbing or out to like loud bars. But like, if we still wanted to walk around or we wanted to, get a bite to eat later, but you want something to drink, you just don't know what it is. Espresso martini is the way to go. Not a real manly drink, I'll admit, but I'm a fan of them.
I do think they make them a little different here, and I feel like you agree. Like, I don't think that they use Bailey's or Kahlua here.
They use that almond.
They use like just
liqueur.
Yeah, it's like a hazelnut liqueur.
Hazelnut, yeah.
But it's not like a creamy like milky one.
Yeah.
So honestly, the ones we've been having here are
incredible.
The best espresso martinis I've ever had. So maybe look up like, I don't know what they use here and try and recreate that because they really are so good.
I am going to perfect.
I know.
The espresso, the Americano, and the espresso martini.
See, I feel like you used to maybe not make fun, but not understand my multi-coffee setup situation. You always,
What do you
always
mean?
had the
I
pour over.
appreciated every bit of it.
I know.
You made that, the Turkish coffee for me?
Yes.
So good.
Yeah. I do love mocha pot coffee.
I need to give you one of those too.
Yeah, we'll get you one.
Because I only have a drip at home. But now, after having what I had here, it simply cannot measure up. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to be... Plus a cigar. So I've always loved a cigar and coffee. Yeah. A cigar and espresso, cigar and Americano is just... It's like cigar and coffee on steroids. Well, obviously I've been having with Cubans too, so that's a whole thing. Mm-hmm. But God, I love it.
It has been fantastic.
So yeah, go visit the other side of the world, drink new coffee, at least.
One thing I want to say, I don't know where it's coming from. There's definitely AC running now. Do you hear it?
I always thought that was a bathroom fan, but I have been.
But we haven't had the fan on.
Is it AC? I don't feel it.
I think it cooled down because I was very sweaty, and I'm better now.
Yeah.
And now I'm hearing this.
Feeling.
Ah, it's up there, is it not?
I saw that, but I don't think anything's coming out of it. I'm not feeling anything. I'm sitting right in front of it.
I'm sorry. We have to figure this out live.
You want to stand on something?
Maybe it is just something in the bathroom.
Yeah, because I don't feel anything. I'm sitting right here. No, it's been on the whole time. There's just no AC in this part of the country, which is okay for this time of year.
Interesting.
But yes, with that.
Yes.
Thank you for being such a generous host.
Thank you for coming.
Generous host on the other side of the world.
For coming to Germany. I'm glad you enjoyed your first time in Europe.
And we'll do another one
Yes.
on the steps of the John Wick Church, I think.
I think we should film also.
We should film.
Mm-hmm.
Figure out a way to do that with faces and whatnot.
I think what we could do is put the camera on the steps.
Yeah.
And we can be...
Well, if we're not moving around, actually blurring faces isn't hard. Because I've been going through, like, the CQB League footage, and I may just need to find a different software to edit with, but trying to blur faces in that is such a fucking nightmare. I haven't been able to post a lot of it.
Blurring our faces or blurring, like, people around us?
I don't give a fuck about other people, just ours.
Well, because we could even just be turned the other way and almost have, like, the view of Paris.
We got on our nice Parisian drip. We want to be able to show that off.
This is true.
I'll be able to find some stylish face covering for Paris.
Yeah.
We'll see. Again, if I have to blur faces, it won't be too hard if we're just sitting there.
That's true. I didn't.
Even if you move around a bit, it's good enough to do that. But yeah, that'll be fine.
Yeah, it's definitely easier said than done sometimes, and I understand it's a privileged thing to say. But if you can travel, and wherever it is that you're from, be a tourist in your own city.
True. Walk too.
Walk.
Much as I love my private transportation, walking is underrated.
Yeah.
I should do that more in the city I live in.
And slow down a little bit. I'm a very type A, always have to be moving, doing something, working on something person, and it is good here in some senses because it forces me to
find something in maybe while you're being a tourist in your city, while you're walking around, find something that allows you to slow down because granted, it's easy to say that, but if you go to like a city where you live, like there's probably not much to really look at in a slow down. You can people watch.
Yeah, that's true.
But like when you're living in a concrete jungle, literally, you're looking at square glass metal buildings, and it's like, nah. But like obviously where we were, it was very easy to do.
That's true.
So I mean, if you're outside, you'll naturally find something eventually. I think if you're walking around, so definitely agree with that. Yeah. Till next time.
Till next time.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me back.
Of course.